This one mosaic contains over 20,000 individual tiles, called tessera.
Today, I'm at the Bardo Museum in Tunis, Tunisia. It's a huge museum, hundreds of mosaics, millions of tessera.
While the museum never gets to the top of best museums in the world list, it should be. I'm an archaeologist, and these are the 6 reasons you have to visit the Bardo Museum. 1. It is the largest collection of Roman mosaics in the world.
And it highlights some of the best of mosaics from Rome all the way into the medieval period. One of those amazing things so far is that you see these huge mosaics that look like they would be highlights of a smaller museum. And you look at the description of what they are, and this is just a dedication to a church. It's nothing special.
Tunisia, or what the Romans called Africa Proconsularis, was incredibly wealthy during the Roman period. The region was Rome's breadbasket, producing massive amounts of grain, olive oil, and wine. All of that wealth meant that elites could have elaborate villas in cities like Carthage, Duga, and Athena that had these amazing mosaic floors. It's a reminder of the deep penetration of Roman culture into the region 2,000 years ago. 2. You can walk through an Ottoman palace. The museum itself is housed in what was once a royal palace. The building dates back to the 15th century and the Hafsid rulers. When the Ottomans conquered Tunisia, the ruling dynasty, the Beys, took over the palace and expanded it. The museum maintains much of that original palace with ornate architectural details, intricate colonnades, and beautiful ceilings.
It's actually very similar to some of the palaces you see at Alhambra.
Many of the Nazarene refugees that escaped from Granada after the Spanish Reconquista made their way into this region, giving some of these architectural influences. Does this remind you of Alhambra? Let me know in the comments if you've been to Granada and Alhambra, or if you've been to the Bardo Museum, if you think they compare somehow. Eventually, the palace became a museum in 1888 during the French Protectorate, and was known then as Musée Alaoui, named after the ruling bey. Its creation was spurred on by the influx of beautiful artifacts from newly discovered Roman sites across the country. Then, after Tunisia gained independence in 1956, they renamed it to the Bardo Museum. Even without the actual artifacts inside, the museum itself will be worth a visit for anyone who's a fan of Islamic art and architecture. 3. It has the Mona Lisa of mosaics. Remember I mentioned a few standout pieces in the museum? Well, the Bardo has what's often called the Mona Lisa of Tunisian mosaics, the famous Virgil Mosaic. This piece is from the 3rd century CE, and it is incredible because it is the oldest known portrait of the Roman poet Virgil. How do we know it's Virgil? Well, if you look closely, you can see Virgil seated, holding a scroll that has the lines, Musa mihi causas memora, or Muse, recall to me the causes of Juno's anger. One of the opening lines of his famous poem, the Ennead. The mosaic was uncovered in 1896 at the site of Hadrumetum, modern Swiss, in Avila's garden. What makes it so special isn't just its rarity or its age, it's the level of craftsmanship. If you think about a mosaic like a photo, then each tessera would be a pixel. Then this would be one of the highest resolution images I've ever seen. The skill it must have taken to not just put these tessera together, tiny pieces, but select the stones of the exact right color is truly incredible. In the image, Virgil is flanked by 2 muses, Clio, the muse of history holding a book, and Melpomene, the muse of tragedy, holding a tragic theater mask. It's why this is sometimes called Virgil and his muses. It has to be one of the finest examples of Roman art, and because it's a mosaic, it looks exactly like it would have 1800 years ago. 4. The myths get brought to life. These fine mosaics not only represent poets, but the scenes from poetry. One of the most famous, and my favorite, is Odysseus and the Sirens mosaic.
We have Odysseus here in the center of the boat with his crew. And these, of course, are the sirens. And he's standing there, stoic, resisting the siren call of the sirens. They're trying to seduce him into the waves. And now you can tell that they're not just beautiful women because you look at their feet. That is not the feet of normal women. That is the feet of a siren. This mosaic was originally found at Duga,
dating to sometime during the reign of Emperor Gallienus in the mid-3rd century CE. If you want to see more about Duga, I have a video of my visit coming out there soon, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out. But what's interesting about this mosaic is that the artist added a fisherman in a small rowboat catching a gigantic lobster. If you've ever read the Odyssey, you'll know that this is not in the story. He just added it for some reason, perhaps to add some local culture or some local flavor. But this mosaic is one of the few times we can actually see how the Romans visualized their stories. They read Homer, just like we do, and interpret it through their art, just like we do. Number 5, real Roman life in stone. But it's not just scenes of poetry and mythology captured in these mosaics, but the simple acts of everyday life in the Roman Empire.
Wow. So this room shows different depictions of the Roman countryside, of Roman everyday life.
Real scenes of farming and hunting, and depictions of the houses that the farming and hunting supported that the mosaic was inside of. The crown jewel of these is the Dominus Julius mosaic, named for the inscription on it that says Domino Livio, to Lord Julius, the land's owner. It was uncovered at Carthage in 1920, dates to the 4th or 5th century CE, and covered a huge section of the Grand Villa.
It's amazing to see the farm and all the activities taking place around the farm. You can see really a depiction of daily life in Rome, and it's kind of the reason we have so much information about how Rome lived, as these mosaics give you an idea of their conception of themselves.
These scenes, including a similar one from the House of Labyrinth in Athena, check out my video here to catch that, are basically diagrams of what the Roman countryside in Africa was like and tell us more than even tens of thousands of sherds of pottery ever could. 6. People died for this. Finally, the saddest and most unique aspect of the Bardo Museum is that it was the scene of a terrorist attack. In 2015, Islamist extremists opened fire inside of the museum and killed 22 people, largely foreign tourists. This was the point of the terrorist attack. It was to make a statement about the visitors that were coming to see this cultural material. After the attack, there was a movement of solidarity. Le monde is Bardo. The world is Bardo. The museum opened just days later, a statement that terror cannot triumph over the resilience of culture. When I visited, the enhanced security was evident. There were permanently stationed military guards controlling access into the property and the parking lot. That being said, once you entered the grounds, it was pretty normal for any museum. There's a metal detector, there's a bag check, nothing out of the ordinary. The museum closed again from 2021 to 2023 due to political events. It shares grounds with the parliament, but it reopened with new galleries and displays. There's a resilience to this place that goes beyond just the ancient artifacts it protects. And it's this reason you have to visit the Bardo Museum. It's not just about the museum itself, it's about proving that history is important, and extremists trying to kill those that want to learn cannot win. It is in service to those that lost their lives here. The story of humanity's past is so important that people will kill for it. Don't let them take that away from you. Hard pivot. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, I have some more videos coming out soon from my visit to Tunisia, so make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss out when I drop those new videos. See you next week.